Welcome to the Space Dreamers podcast, a Sue Madre production.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Lift off and the clock has started.
Roger, 0J, and I feel fine. Roger, 0J, and I feel fine.
Okay, welcome to the Space Dreamers podcast. This is the 14th novel by Clarke that we are covering, 14 out of 20. This novel is called The Fountains of Paradise. It is one of Clarke's more famous novels. And having just read it, I will say that I can see why. It's nice and streamlined. It's kind of moves pretty quickly. It's not too long. It's not too dense. And it has a main character, which I feel like a lot of Clarke novels kind of skip out on, like, compelling main characters. He's not super deep, but he's pretty interesting. I am joined here today with Mallory. Mallory, say hello.
Hello.
I chose Mallory to read this book. I don't know why I figured you'd be into it because of the whole, like, Buddhism kind of aspect of it. Although I forgot that the story that's told in the past kind of ends maybe like a third way into the book.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that it told a parallel story the whole time, but it kind of finishes up with the whole Kalidasa thing in the beginning.
Yeah.
But that stuff is pretty interesting.
He brought it back again in the end a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of this novel?
It was pretty good. Yeah. At first I thought I was like, where's this going? And then it kind of jumped right into more of the action side of things like halfway through. So I enjoyed the ending a lot.
Cool.
I even wore my gold Buddha chain that Cielo made.
Nice.
Shout out to Cielo.
Perfect. Interestingly enough, so I think that the middle for me is the most interesting. Once you get beyond the story about the building, the fountain in 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, before it becomes just a rescue story, I find it most interesting in the middle when it's just about a really ambitious guy trying to convince all the powers against him to let him build a space elevator. To me, personally, that's what I find most interesting. I'm not saying the other parts are bad.
Yeah.
I'm just most engaged personally in the middle. Like, I feel like this novel is, for me, I think it has a lot of concepts kind of happening, but none of them get fully fleshed out.
Yeah, I could agree
You know
with
what I mean?
that. Yeah.
But I think that all the concepts are interesting.
Oh, yeah.
For example, like just learning that the dude bridged the Gibraltar Strait.
Yeah.
Like, that is cool.
Yeah.
So
he's already like a famous engineer to begin with.
right. So basically the novel's about this guy. He's like an engineer named Morgan. What's his first name?
It's like
Venever?
Venever? Or
Venever, maybe?
Venever?
Venever
Yeah,
Morgan.
maybe.
Yeah.
They call him Van.
Yeah. So he's like this he's the most famous engineer in the world because he built a bridge that goes from Spain to Africa across the Gibraltar Strait, which is 15 kilometers long. And so each of those, they say each of the spires, the things that hold it up, are like the tallest structures in the world. So he's basically like sitting pretty.
Yeah.
But then he gets the idea. I don't remember how or why he gets the idea, but then he gets the ambition to build what is essentially a space elevator, which will get rid of the necessity for rockets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. So just the idea in general is really cool. And then what he then has to do is contend with, basically he figures out that the best place to build this thing will be on this mountain called, would you say Taprobani or Taprobane?
I pronounced it Taprobane, but
So did I, but
Yeah.
who knows? So this mountain called Taprobane, where it's like a holy site, where like 2,000 years prior, basically there was like a standoff between these two brothers. We don't have to get into like the minute details,
yeah.
but one of them, I do like the parallel in that one of them built this thing that at the time they thought was impossible, which they call, I guess, is the reference Fountains of Paradise.
Right, yeah.
Which is like, I don't know, some kind of aqueduct system that made it so that the fountains would shoot the water really high in the air, which people at the time thought was crazy
Yeah, I
and amazing.
guess. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what the fountains actually did, but yeah.
So that dude did that back in the day, and there's some other stories in there about like the king, he like kills his father, and then they're kind of like fighting over the throne. But all that's, I mean, it's interesting, but it's kind of fleeting. It's kind of over, like we said early.
Yeah.
So that's why that place becomes like this holy place that like pilgrims, they climb up the mountain and they have this like amazing view.
Yeah, I guess the king wanted, I don't know, like he has all these amazing gardens up there, and it's you have to walk up like thousands of stairs to get there. So it's challenging. But yeah, I guess why did he ended up building it? Just because he wanted it up there?
I don't even know.
I can't remember
Some
now.
kind of, I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
But he also has that, he built like an army of like stone people, right? Like soldiers.
Yeah.
And then in current day, there's only like 20 of them left because they're hidden. They're like under like an outcropping of rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically the challenge is this guy, Venever Morgan, has to find some way to convince those people, the people who own that spot, that this is the best place to build the tower, which is, it has to be on the equator. And he explains all the reasons why, like nowhere in Africa, nowhere in South America will work. And it's interesting too that this takes place far enough in the future where they have climate control. There's like monsoon control,
Right.
which would make it so that, I don't know, in this novel, I feel like so many things go wrong at the end.
Yeah.
That it's like, if this was actually operational, I feel like all these things would happen tenfold.
Right.
You know? But I don't know. It takes a dreamer to like build stuff like this. So basically, and like kind of part of his argument is that this is what we're doing is like getting you closer to God. Like we're literally sending people up into the heavens.
Yeah, they like try to convince the monks that live there in the temple that you would benefit from this because we're going to send you closer to God.
Yeah, we're like finishing.
They're like, nah.
yeah, we're like finishing the work that Kalidasa started.
Yeah,
but obviously they don't see it that way. But then, then Venever Morgan gets kicked off the project. I forget. I was a little confused. It's because he was like keeping the information from someone.
Yeah, I was a little confused by
he
some
was
of
like
that stuff.
Funding it
too.
himself when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, and he was keeping it really secretive so no one would know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he wanted people to know about the hyperfilaments either.
Right.
If that was a part of it.
Yeah, so then they talk about how he basically devises this hyperfilament made out of diamonds that they say is like grown.
Like crystals, yeah, or something
and
like
like
that.
you can only grow it in zero gravity, so they grow it in space. So that's like what will give them the ability to actually build this thing. And the other interesting thing is that it's not just a tower. They have to like bring an asteroid or not like a space rock to have like a midway point.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is actually like 75% way. Mm-hmm. Which all this stuff is explained in the book.
Yeah.
A lot of this book is technical, but it's not so technical that it's hard to understand, right?
No, definitely not, yeah.
So like that's why we're probably skipping over the technical stuff because it's almost like it's not important in the novel. It's like explained so simply that you kind of just move on and you're kind of just with this dude Venever.
Yeah, it's almost like you're just supposed to expect that technology exists and just not think much into it.
Yeah. So there's that funny part where like the dude he's trying to convince is watching him through the telescope.
Yeah, I like that part.
And then he just, that whole scene is seen from the guy viewing through the telescope and he sees him basically like jump off the cliff.
Yeah. Thinks he's like committing suicide up there or something.
But really he has like, it's like an invisible diamond string that will hold like any amount of weight. And it's kind of his way of convincing people that this thing exists.
Yeah, he keeps it in like a little spinneret, he calls it.
Right.
And he just like pulls it out and he can use it for whatever he feels like using it for.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially at the end. Mm-hmm. So then how does Mars get involved? I think he needs funding.
Yeah, so No, I think it's what happened was the monks were like, absolutely not. You can't have our property.
Right.
And they even had like a little discussion where like the monk, Morgan, like confronts them about the fact that there really truly is no lease on the property. But the monks tell this story about like when all the golden butterflies leave this area, then that states that the monks no longer own that property anymore.
Okay.
So he, I think, then just kind of gave up on the job for a little bit. And then someone from Mars contacted him and wanted him to build the space elevator on Mars.
Right.
Because supposedly people are like living there right now.
Right.
But it's pretty harsh. I guess it's like more primitive.
And I think Mars is trying to get a foothold in terms of like the solar system, like economy or just center of activity. Like if they have a space elevator, then it'll just attract more commerce and business. And
then Mars will be a better place that people actually want to go to and live.
So then I thought it was really cool. Yeah, because the whole thing with the butterflies, that the butterflies try to fly up the mountain, but they freeze. They freeze. They get too cold, so they never make it to the top. Mm-hmm. And there's a bell up there, too, which becomes important, that only rings during crises.
Yeah, and they have never heard the bell ring in, like, thousands of years.
Yeah. So, well, I remember the reason the monks finally leave is because there's that gust of wind.
Yeah, it was like some gale force winds that came by.
And blew
all the butterflies away.
So that was cool because he was trying to demonstrate that this thing would work.
Right.
By like shooting something down into the earth and like getting a bullseye. And like it gets messed up because of the gust, like this monsoon. But also because of the monsoon. Like this is his last chance to prove like this thing will work.
Right, yeah.
But then this monsoon comes and ruins it. But because the monsoon comes and ruins it, that allows the butterflies to go up to the top of the mountain.
Yep, and gives him his access to Earth.
And it makes the bell ring, right?
I think they ring the bell, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe it did make the bell ring.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, the bell rings, so that just changes everyone's mind. So I really like that scene because it's what screws him up in a separate way, like allows him to do what he was trying to do this whole time.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like definitely like, I don't know, it's very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very lucky.
But then, okay, so one of the most amazing images in this novel for me was when they explained how if they were to build it on Mars, Mars has a moon that's innermost moon is going to pass by.
Oh, right.
The elevator, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they explained that they would make the elevator sway back and forth.
Yeah.
So that every time the moon went by, it wouldn't hit it.
Exactly.
It would miss it by like a super short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And he just explains like how amazing that would be if you were there. You would basically see a moon like go by you like within miles.
Yeah, it would feel so close to you.
Dude, like that image was so amazing. I feel like it's such a small part of the novel, but to imagine that, that would be so cool.
That would be pretty cool.
But then, out of nowhere, how about Starglider?
Yeah, explain to me what Starglider was again.
Starglider, like it doesn't. On the one hand, it's like it doesn't belong in the novel,
right?
But on the other hand, it's like one of the most interesting parts of the novel.
Yeah.
So, and it's written by Clarke, so it just gives it that epic scope. Basically, Starglider is a probe from an alien race.
Okay.
That enters the solar system and talks to humanity.
Right, but it takes like hundreds of years for the message to get there. Is that what it is?
Because it's really, really far.
Yeah.
The origin is really, really far away.
Gotcha.
And like basically Starglider just talks to Earth and basically tells humans like, hey, listen, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. But Starglider is an AI. They explain that it's not really like aliens aren't talking to them. It's like an alien probe AI is talking to them and kind of teaches them all these things about like how there are 5 classes of civilizations in the universe.
Yeah. And only 3 of the category 5 had, what was it? Had organized religion, and they were all like 2-parent households.
Yeah. He gets into all this philosophy stuff. It's really interesting. Wait, I think I marked one page with Starglider that I would like to share.
Yeah, it's almost like I was kind of like, Starglider doesn't make any sense to be in this, but it's a cool add-in.
So this is like right when it shows up. It says,
It was obvious from its very first messages that Starglider understood the meaning of several thousand basic English and Chinese words, which it had deduced from an analysis of television, radio, and, especially, broadcast video text services. But what it had picked up during its approach was a very unrepresentative sample from the whole spectrum of human culture. It contained little advanced science, still less advanced mathematics, and only a random selection of literature, music, and the visual arts. Like any self-taught genius, therefore, Starglider had huge gaps in its education. On the principle that it was better to give too much than too little, as soon as contact was established, Starglider was presented with the Oxford English Dictionary, the Great Chinese Dictionary, Romandarin edition, and the Encyclopedia Terre. Their digital transmission required little more than 50 minutes, and it was notable that, immediately thereafter, Starglider was silent for almost 4 hours, its longest period off the air. When it resumed contact, its vocabulary was immensely enlarged, and for over 99% of the time, it could pass the Turing test with ease. I.e., there was no way of telling from the messages received that Starglider was a machine and not a highly intelligent human. There were occasional giveaways, for example, incorrect use of ambiguous words and the absence of emotional content in the dialogue. This was only to be expected. Unlike advanced terrestrial computers, which could replicate the emotions of their builders when necessary, Starglider's feelings and desires were presumably those of a totally alien species, and therefore largely incomprehensible to man.
so it really doesn't fit in the novel, but it's super interesting.
It is, yeah.
Like, the very, very last chapter, it kind of brings it back.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, allows there to a reason for there to be like a distant, like thousands of years from now, there's like alien visitors to Earth who are basically like, look at this amazing thing that humans built.
Yeah.
Which you're there to watch them build.
Right.
So I guess it kind of makes that connection.
Yeah.
But I mean,
they come back like as tourists to Kalidasa Palace. I
like Starglider. I think, I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than like it feels like it doesn't belong, but it's interesting.
I would agree with you. It's like, I don't understand why he threw that in there, but it was neat.
But he does explain that, there's 5 classes of civilizations, and I think we're a class 3, right?
I think so, yeah.
So like there's still 2 steps before
we weren't very high up.
Yeah. We still have 2 steps to go before we're in line with the people or the aliens who built Starglider.
Right.
So anyway, so after the butterfly and the bell incident, Morgan is given the ability to build his space elevator on Taprobani or Taprobane. And then there's also some parts that talk about like the media. Like there's that woman. What's that woman's name?
Duval.
Yeah, Maxine Duval. She's like a media liaison. Mm-hmm. This book is weird, man. It's good, but it's like everything is very light.
Yeah.
Like nothing gets too much attention.
So she wasn't introduced till chapter 10, I think.
But it's almost like that, having like a media, she doesn't play that big of a role, really.
Not really.
But kind of no one does except for him.
Yeah.
But
there is this one part, I think it is in chapter 10, where they're having a meeting, and it almost seems like they're describing that Morgan's a hologram during the meeting.
He probably is. I think he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought that was neat.
There's definitely some hologram action in this book.
Yeah.
It's far enough in the future that
True.
it would make sense.
True. I mean, if you're building a space elevator.
I feel like Clarke at this point in his literature, in his writing career, became more confident in attempting to disprove the existence of God in his literature.
Yeah.
And I think that was the point of Starglider.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of parts about Starglider that are about how like there's no logical way that God could exist.
Yeah.
Like it's like he uses Starglider to like kind of convince humans that there's no God.
Yeah, I never really thought too deep into it, but now that you say that, it kind of makes sense.
Dude, yeah, remember when Starglider gives its last communication and it's like a total tease to humanity about the creation of the universe?
Oh, yeah. What does it say again?
He basically says, here, I'll just read this like 2 paragraphs. He says,
The hypothesis you refer to as God, though not disprovable by logic alone, is unnecessary for the following reason. If you assume that the universe can be, quote, explained, unquote, as the creation of an entity known as God, he must obviously be of a higher degree of organization than his product. Thus you have more than doubled the size of the original problem and have taken the first step on a diverging infinite regress. William of Ockham pointed out as recently as your 14th century that entities should not be multiplied unnecessarily. I cannot therefore understand why this debate continues.
and then he says, Starhome informed me 400. So Starhome is like the origin.
Okay.
And the thing that's moving through our solar system is Starglider.
Right.
So Starglider says,
Starhome informed me 456 years ago that the origin of the universe has been discovered, but that I do not have the appropriate circuits to comprehend it. You must communicate direct for further information. I'm now switching to cruise mode and must break contact. Goodbye.
Yeah, I remember really liking that part because also, you know how they were explaining the categories of people. I think like the 6th or 7th is like they couldn't even communicate it to us what it is because it's like we just wouldn't get it.
Yeah. So I do like that. And then, wait, I'm trying to think. Does it just cut right to like the elevator's almost built after the butterfly incident?
Yeah, it's like it kind of jumps into like they have already started construction.
Right.
Well, there was a meteor. Am I jumping too far ahead?
No, you can jump all you want.
Well, I just wasn't sure if that was part of. I don't know. There were so many like mini catastrophes that happened.
There's nothing major until like the very end.
Yeah. So like I can't even remember like what.
I think there is
about.
like a meteor situation. I guess the book kind of just brings up all the different things that could go wrong.
Right.
But then they kind of don't.
Yeah, or something always just like it just misses or
Right.
it fizzles out and it's really nothing.
But I do like how they explain. Honestly, visualizing the thing was a little bit confusing. But there were a couple things that did take hold visually in my mind. That basically, from Midway Station to Earth, would basically be an upside down Eiffel Tower.
Right.
You would have 4 like separate tracks that start out further apart, and as they get closer to Earth, they kind of come down onto the top of the mountain.
Right.
So it starts thin and it gets wide.
Yeah.
I guess for like support. We should also say, how tall is this thing again? I can't remember. Like 400-something thousand kilometers.
Yeah.
400,000 kilometers, something like that.
Straight up. Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea too, later on, you learn again. This whole book is just like concepts that are awesome that you don't really get too much info about because it's only like a 200-page book.
Right.
But he does talk about the basically 0G city that would exist further in the future. He basically is he's saying that he's building one spoke of a wheel.
Right.
That would be like a ring around the entire Earth.
Yeah.
Where there would be
I really thought that was a cool concept.
Like 6 or 8 or 10 of these things all over the Earth on the equator that would then be connected.
Yep.
And
each one's its own like city around the world. Yeah.
It's a trip. I mean, Clarke isn't prone to writing long epic books, but I think if some other author wrote this, it would be way longer, way more detailed.
Yeah.
Like I started reading this one book. I couldn't read the whole thing, but it was by Neil Stephenson. It was called 7 Eves, and it was about like how the moon was like breaking apart, and eventually he explains it in like extreme detail, but like eventually like the moon would continue to break apart. Like each piece of it would break in half infinitely so that eventually you'd have like billions upon billions of little tiny pieces. But then they would enter the atmosphere and burn up and literally like burn the entire planet like
Oh, geez.
to like nothing.
Yeah.
So it's about humanity realizing that and realizing they have to leave Earth, but the book is like thousands of pages long.
Oh God, yeah.
It's just so much detailed. It's like it starts out present day, and you just go through everything, and then by the end of the book, you're like 900 years in the future, and the humans are like completely different. Like, I don't know, I couldn't finish it.
I was gonna say it sounds cool, but that's daunting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like someone like that would take a concept like this and just
Right.
make it so fleshed out.
Oh yeah, you could. I could see how you could take this and flesh it out a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, what was like your favorite part? You said the ending?
Yeah, I really like the part at the end where so Morgan, there's some people that get stuck in one of the elevators.
Right.
Are they at? They say it's at they call it the basement. Is that was midway?
Yeah, which is
Okay.
like below midway.
That's right. It's like below this little part below it. So he has to go up there and rescue them. And I like the part when he actually finally gets to them.
Yeah.
And then he's doing the check on the outside.
Right.
He almost dies of a freaking heart attack.
Yeah.
And he's just like talking to them about how like, well, no matter what, at least I got to see this and be up here because
Right.
he had never really been up there since the first test or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then that's when he like imagined the whole world having a ring of these.
Right.
I thought that part was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. So basically, he has to save those people. The thing's not built yet. It's like built,
It's
but
like
it's
halfway built.
Yeah, yeah. There was I did like that part where he goes through like the mock capsule that would bring like tourists up.
Yeah.
Like there's 5 different levels, and one of them's like a bar.
Right. Yeah.
And he talked about how like you wouldn't be able to see the stars, so they would have to build a section that was completely blacked out.
Oh, right.
Like
yeah.
he said, like you would buy your drink and then you would go into this place behind curtains where it was completely blacked out.
Yeah,
And
just so
would
you could see the
like,
stars.
Look at the stars. Like that would be so amazing.
That would be
If they
pretty
made that affordable, like think about how much effort though. Like if that thing existed in wherever this is, like it's got to be somewhere in like near India.
Yeah.
I think it's fake, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's somewhere. I think he mentions like the Indian subcontinent.
I think you're right.
He's probably imagining it in Sri Lanka,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. So if we wanted to go visit this thing, you'd have to fly all the way over there. Then you'd have to get in the thing, and it's like a several-hour trip.
You're right.
I feel like it would be so
I
expensive.
think it was just 5 hours just to get to the midway point.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's like,
Would it be expensive though?
I don't
Because
know.
you think about it, it's just kind of like an elevator.
True.
I mean, granted, I'm sure what it costs to build it's probably a lot.
Yeah.
I would imagine that hyperfilament's probably not cheap.
I would love to see a movie like, I don't know. It's like a lot of things in this book would make really cool movies on their own.
I think so too.
Like
yeah.
I personally think like the whole conversation, all the conversations they have about the Gibraltar Bridge, I find really fascinating.
Yeah, those
like,
are really cool.
Even though it's not sci-fi, it's like very interesting to imagine that you could actually bridge that gap.
Right. I mean, it's like any big, amazing bridge we have. It's
Yeah.
just pretty cool how they are constructed.
Right.
And then it completely changes the whole landscape of things because now
Yeah.
you have all this access.
And that's what he said. He was like people drive across the bridge just to drive back.
Right. Yeah. They
Like-
pay the toll just
Yeah.
to drive it.
And he's like that. And then once he goes up the elevator, he's like, people are going to do the exact same thing for this. Like it's going to be more tourists than it is like
Yeah.
actual escaping Earth.
Right. And wasn't Midway supposed to be like this like tourist attraction anyway?
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're just going to make it like really cool so people actually want to just come here and stay.
Right. That'd be so cool.
That would be pretty cool.
But then there's that other character who brings up vertigo. He's like, people are not going to be okay with this,
Right.
Because like the human brain's never experienced this.
Right. Yeah.
And it was interesting that he talked about, and I was trying to picture it, how you're not afraid when you're in an airplane because you're not,
like you're connected to Earth somehow.
yeah, because you're not connected to Earth. It's only when you're on top of something that is connected to Earth that vertigo kicks in.
Right. I thought that was really cool,
Which
too.
is weird.
It's like the sensation of feeling your feet on the ground, feeling the wind on your skin.
Yeah.
That's why you're afraid.
Right.
But like, yeah, if you're up in this little space capsule up, you
I think-
feel safe.
I think it would be trippy because you'd be so high up that if you looked down, like the thing that you're on would disappear from view.
Right.
Like
Well, it's
you-
like that ride at the fair that just brings you up and then drops you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty scared when
Right.
it goes to the top because I don't like heights. So,
But it would be weird to see what you're standing on disappear into the vanishing point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'd be like, that thing's holding me up, but I can't even see it.
Yeah, that would be weird.
I don't know if I would take a ride on that thing.
It would take a lot of convincing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would willingly do that.
So then, like, the whole end of the book is your standard rescue mission
Yeah.
where a professor and his students get basically stranded, like a little below Midway. Okay, so I'm pretty sure Midway is at 25,000 feet.
Okay.
So I think...
You mean kilometers?
I'm sorry, yeah, kilometers.
Yeah.
So I think... And they say that was about 75%. So I think I said 400,000 kilometers. I think it's 40,000 kilometers.
Okay.
The thing itself is 40,000 kilometers off the surface of the Earth.
Gotcha.
So he has to go up there and save them, and he goes by himself. And the whole Cora thing,
Yeah.
that was like a pacemaker, right?
Yeah,
Or what was that thing?
it's a medical alert button. So basically, like, I wrote it down.
It's on his chest. He's basically like
It's a heart monitor.
He's like Iron Man.
Yeah, it's like a heart monitor. Yeah, kind of like Iron Man, where like his heart rhythm is getting too much, and it's assessing his vitals, and then it's like you need to cool it
Right.
for a little bit and take a break.
And he,
I
like-
guess until the heart rate comes back down.
Yeah, and he like lies to the people that he works with, like they don't know that he has it.
Yeah, I guess no one knows he has a heart condition.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
who cares?
Right, but yeah.
But actually, you know what? That does matter because of the ending.
It would, because people probably wouldn't let him go up there if they knew he had
Right,
a
but
heart condition.
But it makes like he basically went up there. He saved those people. He's probably the only one who could have saved them because he used his little hyperfilament to cut the thing.
All right, that part was badass, by the way.
But then, dude, he dies at the end.
I know. I kind of fucking love it that he gets up there, he saves the people,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then like on his way back, he just has a fucking heart attack.
Yeah,
It's like, of course you did.
but it allows. I guess that's the point of Korra is to have that
Yeah.
ending where like basically he dies.
Right,
His own creation kills him.
right.
I mean,
I mean, not really. I mean, he just like stressed his heart too much
Yeah.
and died.
true. And then the very end, where the creators of Starglider, I'm assuming, come to Earth. I think like 3,000 years in the future.
Yeah,
And the Earth is in an ice age,
yeah,
and but it's just so cool for those whatever they are, the aliens things, whatever he explains what they are. It's weird,
yeah.
and they look out and they see that like the bottom third of the original tower is now a city.
Oh,
Remember
right.
that? Like
Yeah.
like it's now like a livable. It's basically a vertical city,
Right.
and the ring has been built.
Yeah, that's already done. Yeah.
And it's just so cool to
That is
like
really cool.
imagine that. And I love when Clarke does that, dude. Like sometimes he does that with like the last chapter is thousands of years in the future.
He just
you know?
makes it full circle and
Yeah,
completes it. I know. I like that too about him.
I love it. He's like not afraid to. It's like sometimes he's so mundane with like his humor and a lot of his characters, but then he's not afraid to go completely in the opposite direction and just get batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. But do you remember? I bring this up all the time. Do you remember the movie Ad Astra?
Yes.
You remember how the first scene is on one of these?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but in that movie they call it the International Space Antenna.
Yeah.
So they call it a space antenna.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it really has the same purpose,
I mean, close. Yes.
but the whole point, I guess we should say, of the space elevator is that you don't need rocket fuel.
Right. It's like a more efficient way to get into space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like using way less money, way less resources to get things into space. And in this
Exactly.
book, the moon has been colonized, Mars has been
Yeah.
colonized, like other planets have been colonized. So it's like the one step beyond globalization.
Right. And they talk about like how each place has to find other planets just to mine resources off of.
Right,
So I'm
right.
assuming we're in a place where resources are a little more sparse.
Right.
Climate change. I thought it was cool they started talking about climate change so much too, and
Yeah.
how, like they were already seeing the effects while he was building it.
Right. Do you remember the part, and I wish I had marked it, but do you remember the part where they talk about like he mentions like some kind of like the old technology where it took 5 hours to cross the Atlantic?
Oh yeah,
It's like, dude, that you're talking about planes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the way we live
Yeah.
right now.
I was like, you mean airplanes?
Yeah, like it's so funny to read that kind of stuff.
All right.
I don't know.
But think about it. Probably 100 years from now, that's how it's going to look.
I know.
I mean, trains to now. I mean, a lot of people use trains still, but compared to the way it used to be, it's completely different.
And we should say that takes place in the 22nd century. So
Yes.
21 something,
Yeah.
which is like 200 years from when he wrote it.
Right.
And this book came out, I think, 76? Hold on.
78?
No, 79.
No, 79.
Yeah. Oh, so we're getting into the 80s next.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. 70s was kind of quicker. He wrote a lot in the...
Yeah, I feel like he
50s
kind
and
of
60s.
caught a groove and like found a pattern that seemed to work for him.
Yeah.
Where I feel like, yeah, the earlier stuff, it was like he was still developing
Right.
maybe his voice.
Yeah, I think... How do you think this one compares to the other ones you've read by him?
You know, I think of Childhood's End is still like one of my favorites so far.
Yeah.
Like I like 2001 obviously as well too.
Right.
But like it's just that one's on such a different spectrum.
Right.
But I mean, I enjoyed this one, but I can't say that like by any means it's my favorite.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's different from kind of Clarke stuff because it is talking about outer space, but a lot of it deals with just being on Earth. Like most
Right.
of the book is on Earth.
Yeah.
And not even really in outer space until maybe the very end a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's definitely different than like Rama in 2001, 2010
Yeah.
in that sense.
I think that he was just really interested in this idea
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to popularize it.
Yeah,
And I think that he succeeded.
definitely.
Yeah, it's like I don't even have that much to say about it because nothing. It's not to say it's a bad thing, but like nothing about the novel is deep.
No, yeah, it's just a very straightforward story.
Yeah, it's just like
It's a very typical kind of action rescue.
yeah, and in the middle is also just like solving an engineering problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a fake engineering problem, so you have to like explain the problem and then explain the solution, and then there's nothing left for like story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's so thin that's why he included Starglider
Maybe.
to flesh
Just
it
to,
out.
like, yeah.
'Cause if you take
give
out
it a little more.
Starglider, you take out like there's like 5 whole chapters that are devoted to Starglider,
Yeah.
and he has almost no impact on
Yeah.
building the elevator.
No, not at all.
I guess it's just to make you realize like this is a world now that is aware of and I guess comfortable with knowing that we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah, and it seems like they're in a world where it's normal for people to live on other planets
Right.
and that, I mean, that you need easy access to that or want access to
Right.
that easily and more efficiently
Right.
than you were before.
I do love the like I think we've already said just the idea of the ring city or just the ring like
Yeah.
it's such a trip.
Like I can just picture that just as like these big giant towers and then like a rainbow colored rod or
Yeah.
something that's glowing all
Yeah.
around.
And he
Zipping around
And I like how
things.
he says that it's like I'm building just one spoke
Yeah.
of a
Like,
wheel.
this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part was really cool.
It's crazy. So I think this is the last one. This is like the last one that he wrote besides the 2001 sequels that was like celebrated and like won awards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, not to say any of the ones that come after this one are any worse, but they're like a little less, I don't know, mainstream,
I see.
I guess.
Yeah.
One of them takes place like on another planet in a different, like really, really, really far away, like really, really far in the future. And then there's 2 more besides 2001 sequels that are like very grounded on Earth. Like one of the ones that's coming up, it takes place. He wrote it in the 90s. It's just your standard. There's a giant meteor coming to Earth and we have to avoid it story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like
just a bland sci-fi movie.
I mean, yeah, pretty much like all those sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would definitely recommend this book. It's easy enough to read.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might not be the most exciting or the most like philosophy ridden, but it's like it's easy to read. It's fast paced, and like I said, all the little concepts are interesting. They're just not explored fully.
Right.
Like I love thinking about the Gibraltar Bridge. I love thinking about the space elevator. And like I said, one of the craziest images Clarke has ever given me is being on the space elevator on Mars and seeing a moon go by like just a couple miles away.
Right.
Like that would be so crazy.
That would be crazy. You would feel so small next to that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It'd be weird.
Totally weird. But anyway, yeah, this is going to be a shorter episode just because, like I said, it's like not a whole lot to say. Like
It's just a really straightforward
yeah.
story, and there's not much that you can like pick out of it. It
Yeah.
is what it is, but it's enjoyable in that way.
Yeah.
Like I would actually like it seems like it would be like a fairly interesting movie.
Definitely.
You
I
know?
think it would be like, especially, I just imagine like that turning point in the movie where you would just have some like gorgeous shot on top of the mountain where like all those butterflies are flying,
Right.
and like the bells ringing in the background, like
Yeah.
in slow motion.
Yeah.
That would be so sick.
Whoever the guy was, what was the guy's name you interviewed that did the 9 billion names of God?
What's his name?
Bro, I'm gonna need you to make that.
Dominique Filo.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. He should make it.
Dominique, I need you to make that.
Yeah, I got to hit him up. If he's not too obsessed with UFOs, dude is obsessed with UFOs.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he needs to talk to my brother-in-law.
Should hook
He
up.
loves He loves UFOs.
Yeah, there's he made a documentary that I watched on Amazon all about UFOs.
Oh really? Was it good?
I mean, it was,
UFOs.
that whole thing.
Yeah. Like I love it, but I can't take any of it seriously at all, though.
Yeah, it's just like,
But
I don't know.
it's fun to watch.
Anyway, we should talk briefly about that movie that we watched.
Oh yeah, Black Box.
Eakin has a new shoe. Tired of zero-G parties where everyone has to wear those hideous grip shoes to stay on the floor? Eakin has developed the very first grip high heel. Dazzle your guests and shine brighter than the stars in one of 3 beautiful colors: space gray, black hole black, or supernova scarlet. With one simple buckle strap, you'll never leave the dance floor. Stay grounded. Buy grip shoes from Eakin. NASA is now accepting applications for its next expedition. Terranauts are the hot topic in every space agency since the discovery of Hades, that beautiful and terrible city beneath our feet. Yes, the recently discovered man-made objects buried 30 miles below London are getting visitors, and you could be one of them. Head over to the NASA website to apply to be a Terranaut. The heavens are full of astronauts, but under the ground, nobody but the builders of that great mysterious city has ever explored there. Join the team. Life's a planet. Dig it.
What I'm curious to what you thought about it.
Didn't finish it,
Oh, really?
but I got far enough to
Okay.
know that. And this is the weird thing, dude. Like,
Wait, why didn't you finish it? Did you fall asleep? Were you
no,
bored?
I was just. There's only so much like subpar acting
I
that
hear
I
ya.
can sit through.
I hear you.
To really talk about this movie, you give the whole thing away.
It's true, you do.
I mean, and especially once I saw a review that described it as a second act twist, meaning like it's not a twist ending.
Right. There's a twist in the
Something is revealed like in the middle of the movie that completely changes the whole movie, and it's like, do you say that on a podcast? I mean, I'd never heard of this movie. And once you find out the twist in the middle, which I don't know if the ending is even more twisty, but once you find out the twist in the middle, you're like, oh, that kind of gives an excuse as to why your mom is such a bad actress, because she was acting.
You mean Cosby Mama?
Is that who that was?
Yeah, it's mom from the Cosbys.
Well, she was like just playing. I don't know. You're supposed to, like, is she evil? Is she not? Like,
I mean, I
can't
got
tell.
mad scientist vibes off her.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
Kind
thought
of early on.
I just and like the house that they were in. I get it, dude. It's like a low budget movie, but like
Yeah.
the house that he lived in, that place was just like, it looked like a house showroom.
Yeah.
It was so clean, and like those people just didn't look like they lived there. I mean, but I guess he didn't live there.
Yeah,
He was
not
just
really.
inhabiting that body,
Right.
which, I mean, it's a cool concept, but I think I paused it and I still had like 30 minutes left, and I was like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't. I'm like podcasting about movies and books, and I can't even sit through a whole movie, but I had a lot of shit to do, and I had sci-fi
hear you.
video games to play.
You had priorities.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the part. Like I thought, like it started out cool with like the VR hypnosis.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty cool. And there, you know, the twist was pretty good, I guess. But yeah, it definitely was more horror than sci-fi, I think. Like it wasn't, I mean, it's a little bit sci-fi.
Yeah. I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but it was interesting. Like it became like complicated, like interestingly complicated in that you realize his brother is trying to help him, but his brother's trying to help someone that isn't his brother, but he doesn't even know it.
Yeah, he doesn't know. And
It's just
he
weird.
himself doesn't even know it.
Right, but it's like he can't even trust the people who are trying to help him because they're telling him things about himself that aren't about him.
Right.
They're about the person who was in the body that he's now in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like he still had amnesia either way.
Right.
And then everyone's telling him, no, you're this guy, this girl, Ava is your daughter. And he's like, no.
Yeah, right? That's just weird, dude. But okay, so the reason I don't like that movie is not because it's a bad movie, not because it has bad acting, but because I don't like mysteries. And that was like a mystery on top of a mystery.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like your standard amnesia story.
Yeah.
It was like he has amnesia and he's in the wrong body.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck am I as the viewer supposed to trust? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So why am I watching?
I did think it was pretty cool that the creepy dude that was always after him ended up being the other guy's consciousness, trying to regain the consciousness back of the body.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Because I was definitely intrigued. See, this is the thing with mysteries, man. It's like once you reveal that there's a woman who has bruises all over her arm, it's like, oh, you're a wife beater.
Right.
But then it's like, no, because we're only 30 minutes into the movie. That can't be what's going on.
Right.
So I don't fucking trust what I'm looking at. Like, you just got to like mysteries, I guess, to like that kind of thing.
I don't know why they had to make him a wife beater anyway. Like, why did he have to be a douchebag?
Well, that was interesting because his brother is like, you would never hurt a fly.
I mean, I guess
But
they
he's
were
having,
polar opposites.
But he's
yeah.
having memories of potentially beating his wife.
Right.
Like, it makes sense for the
Yeah,
concept.
it makes sense.
But, like, the structure of it.
Obviously not his life.
Yeah, like, the structure of it is like, I don't know. It's like, once I see that, I go, oh, you were violent to your wife. Mm-hmm. But that's not it because there's still an hour left in the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if it leads you to just believe like, oh, you were really like a shitty guy, but no one knew it, and then it's like that's definitely not what it is at all.
I do like though, like the doubling back on that. Like it makes sense that the brother would say, no, you weren't that person because I'm looking at a different face of a person who really wasn't that person.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It was complicated enough that I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I can't say anything because I didn't finish it, but
Yeah, I think that's where probably why you would have missed like the whole like.
what happened at the end anyway? Did that
so-
guy's consciousness like
So yeah, the
take over?
the lady's son took over. What's his name? Dude's body. I don't even remember his name now.
The body?
Yeah, of the main character.
I don't remember.
It's a
Ava
question.
was the daughter.
Yeah, I remember her name, and that's it. Anyway, that guy, and then he goes back to his old wife and kid. So he basically like leaves Ava, which is like pretty heartbreaking. He abandons Ava with is that his brother or
Yeah,
his
yeah.
friend or whatever? Yeah.
She called him uncle, so I'm assuming it was.
Okay, I wasn't like like friend uncle.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so then he goes back to his old wife, and she obviously is not too happy to find out that he's still alive. Because like, why would she be? Because he like we can start over.
So he approached his old wife, being like, "I have a new body." He told her that.
Yeah, he's like,
Okay.
my mom did it. She did it. Like she was able to do it. Almost
Okay.
like the girl knew about it, or maybe
Okay,
she just
okay.
knew what the mom did for a living. But she's terrified, and then she basically, he looks around the apartment and she had straight up like erased him from everything. There's no pictures of him or anything. So of course he gets all pissed off and he starts beating the shit out of her.
Oh, Jesus.
And so then he takes off and he ends up like, does he kill himself? He doesn't kill himself, but he ends up letting the original guy, the main character's consciousness back. Like, so like, you know, when he goes into the hypnosis and the creepy thing comes, like you see that it's actually the other guy, the main character, and they fight and he lets him win and he becomes the main consciousness now. So he gets his body back and he can go back to his life.
Okay. So the wife beater ends up being erased from Earth.
Kinda. He's still stuck in there.
Okay.
He's still stuck inside him. But the crazy part is that they also show that the wife of the wife beater dude, she actually killed him. They were in a fight and he hit the daughter and they were in this like hallway.
She pushed him down
and
the
she
stairs?
pushed him down the stairs.
Okay.
So that's what killed him.
That was very effective, I will say, when like he was in the wedding and that like the way that dude walked
Right.
on like his back or whatever. But okay, one thing I do find annoying, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess, when you're writing a script in order to stay within the confines of the mystery you're trying to like maintain, is how when he first goes to that apartment and he knocks on the door and the girl comes and he goes, "Is your mom home?" It's like, I feel like he says, "Is your mom home?" so that you as a viewer don't think about the fact that there would probably be a dad too, but you don't want the audience to think about that there should be a dad there because you don't want them to know yet
Right.
that he's the dad.
Because at that point, that could have been a second family. Who knows? Like,
Yeah, so it's a weird thing that I feel like you wouldn't say, but
Yeah.
he says it because you're still trying to maintain the trick that
But
the
if
dad
that-
isn't there because the dad is wrapped up in.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's aware who he is quite at that point yet, though.
I know,
fully.
but I'm saying like in terms of writing a script.
I mean, I
The
understand.
reason he says, "Is your mom home?" and not
Right.
"Are your parents home?"
Oh, right.
is so that the audience doesn't
I
think
see
about
what
the
you mean.
fact that this girl should have a dad.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like
You
just
know what I'm saying?
automatically omit the dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're omitting the dad to stay in line with the mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because normally you would say parents.
Or it's just like, why would you immediately go like? I don't know. It just bothered me
Yeah.
because I remember thinking that when I saw that scene, I go, "Why did he say mom and not parents?" And then when you find out that like you are the dad, like inside the brain, it's like that's why he said it,
Right.
not because as a character, but because as a script.
Yeah.
That's why he omitted the dad or parents.
Right.
But that's very
Deep down,
nitpicky.
subconsciously, he knew anyway.
True. I guess, yeah. I don't know. But I feel like we spoke vaguely enough about that movie that if it sounds interesting, you could check it out.
Yeah.
It's definitely like low budget. Mm-hmm. The acting wasn't terrible, but the whole thing
wasn't
just
great
felt
either.
cheap. I'm watching, I'm like, this is cheap.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like,
It's an Amazon original. What can you do?
I mean, it's a good way to kill a Saturday night if you got nothing
Yeah.
else to do.
Yeah. But in general, I guess that's it this week. Next week, 2010, baby.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read that book. So definitely check out Fountains of Paradise. I'd say it's worth it. More so than other Clarke novels, but not quite as much as A Childhood's End. And Black Box was entertaining and pretty clever.
Yeah, we'll give it that.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, this is a relatively short episode, but maybe if you're listening, you appreciate short episodes. So tune in next time for the continuation of the 2000 and blank saga. We're talking about 2010 Odyssey 2, which is, from my memory, one of the better ones. They're
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, they're all
but
good.
number 2 is a trip, especially the very ending,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yes.
And all three of us are going to watch 2010.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I've never seen it before.
Lucky you.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's garbage.
Oh, damn.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining me and joining Mallory, joining both of us. Have a great day. Keep
Peace
dreaming
out.
about space.
Yeah.
What's up, Space Dreamers? Thank you so much for joining me today once again for another episode. Got to give a huge shout out to Mallory for joining me today in this episode, my co-host, listening to my mad ravings about Ad Astra once again. I love that movie. Big shout out to Kevin Lesage for doing all the music that you hear in the Space Dreamers in this episode and all episodes. Thank you so much to Heather for performing my ads once again. And big shout out, big thank you to Misha Krylov for doing all the voiceovers you heard in today's episode. He's amazing, very, very good at what he does. So actually, similar to last week, I'm going to fade out once again on just one more excellent passage from the novel Fountains of Paradise that we didn't necessarily talk about in the recording, but Misha did an amazing voiceover for it. So I want to fade out on that. Thank you so much for joining me once again, and enjoy this passage.
The elephant throne had changed little in 3,000 years, but never before had it supported the weight of so alien a visitor. As the Starholmer stared into the south, it compared the half-kilometer-wide column soaring from the mountain peak with the feats of engineering it had seen on other worlds. For such a young race, this was indeed impressive. Though it seemed always on the point of toppling from the sky, it had stood now for 15 centuries. Not, of course, in its present form. The first 100 kilometers was now a vertical city, still occupied at some of its widely spaced levels, through which the 16 sets of tracks had often carried 1 million passengers a day. Only 2 of those tracks were operating now. In a few hours, the Starholmer and its escorts would be racing up that huge, fluted column on the way back to the ring city that encircled the globe. The Homer everted its eyes to give telescopic vision and slowly scanned the zenith. Yes, there it was, hard to see by day, but easy by night, when the sunlight streaming past the shadow of Earth still blazed upon it. The thin, shining band that split the sky into 2 hemispheres was a whole world in itself, where 500 million humans had opted for permanent zero-gravity life.